Welcome to Also Consider This, the podcast where we value nuance, perspective, and knowledge so that we can all be
also clever thinkers.
I am the second most famous Alistair on the podcasting scene.
My name is Guo Feng.
We are flogging a dead horse in our minds
Yes.
because there's this thing that recently happened again. There's been like a series of like food articles that went out and it's caused quite a kerfuffle on the internets.
Yeah, I think because the end of the year, then like they started doing like reviews and stuff like that, and then a lot of these things starts to like surface out lah.
Yeah, I think it's partly because like late December was
Slow news cycle.
Slow news cycle. I mean, it was a slow news cycle until Trump started to like go all black ops.
But that was like start of
that's
the
like
week.
January.
Yeah,
already,
January
right?
already. Yeah.
Yeah. So December was kind of like, especially late December was slow news cycle probably. So we had all these like filler articles.
And also all the year in review stuff, which we also kind of did for ourselves.
Yes. I think in Singapore, you have to be safe. And in Singapore, the two safest topics to talk about are always food and sport. And of course...
But sport also recently with the concluding of the ASEAN, the SEA Games, also a bit controversial in some sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it seems politically correct to shit on people who write on food and people who write on food shit on the people who make the food and shitting on people who play the sport.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the trend. This article by Straits Times Live, and it was the article on the best disappearing act goes to the Singapore diner.
Yeah, it was like a year in review kind of thing.
Yeah, and basically the short answer as to what the article is about is basically talking about restaurant closures in Singapore in 2025 and the apparent attempt to explain why it's like that.
Yeah.
And it's basically blaming the Singaporean diner for not showing up. And it talked about points like strong travel demand because Singaporeans after COVID, there's a strong
like a
demand.
Revenge travel kind of thing.
Yeah, and like Singaporeans have gotten into a very big habit of traveling. And it's not and Singapore, I mean, generally even like it's no longer a upper class thing or a high cess thing to be able to travel these days.
Yep.
Like even people with working class jobs and incomes also have holidays and breaks of their own.
Yeah.
Right. It's just that the types of holidays they take may be different. And the types of people that you in the past would not have imagined to have traveled are traveling. Like how many of your favorite hawker stalls suddenly close for 2 weeks because they are going on holiday? Yeah, right. I mean, it's good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody deserves a break, especially a hardworking hawker that has to like work 12-hour shift days and wake up at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning. They deserve a holiday as much as the rest of us. Right. So they talk about the missing diner, basically saying that the death of some F&B outlets is down to the Singaporean diner. That's the first one. And the second one is the Yong Tau Fu STOMP article saga, I would call it. The Toa Payoh Yong Tau Fu STOMP article saga. So basically, there was this article by Sherlyn Ng of STOMP, and she basically did a final hurrah review of Hap Chong Yong Tau Fu, which is opposite the SPH office in Toa Payoh. And it's quite well known especially to people around the area.
Yeah.
They are well known for some handmade items. That means items that they make in-house. And some of them are like deep fried items as well. So like the Yong Tau Fu, they have like deep fried meatballs and deep fried Yong Tau Fu and things like that.
Yeah. All the fried stuff lah, basically.
Correct. And okay, I'll just go deeper into that. So if in case you haven't read it, basically her claim is that she ordered her Yong Tau Fu as a last hurrah, and the bill came to $9.20. It's in a coffee shop, non-air conditioned coffee shop. $9.20 for I think 7 or 8 items according to the picture.
Yeah.
As well as bihun, right? And the article is in my opinion, very scattered because and there are like sentences. I won't even say paragraphs because it's like short sentences that say that, oh, I expected the price to be more expensive because they really raised the price for the last few years. So I really wasn't expecting she, on the one hand, she said I was expecting the price to be higher. But on the other hand, she said that she told the price to her friends and family, and a lot of them balked at the price. But I think my take on it is that there's a very stark lack of detail in the article.
Yeah.
The pictures actually tell more than the article, than the words in the article itself. And if you look, the pictures told us there were 9 items in the order, but she never wrote that in the article itself.
Yeah, it feels a bit like a bit of like 920, but if you actually dive into the article and you see the picture, it's like the portion is actually quite big for it's not a typical order that you might get for a lunch.
It's a big guy's order. It's something that I'm a 6-foot guy that's 100+ kilos, right? That's something that's a portion that I would consider a hearty order for myself. Even.
Yeah, and it's like this is the kind of order that to me it was like if I really want to whack, like I really hungry that day and
you got a long day of work ahead.
Yeah,
your dinner's gonna be 8 hours after
yeah, I'm just gonna whack, or I just ended a
long workout,
a long day kind of thing, and I'm really hungry. I didn't really eat breakfast, and then I'm having a late lunch. That's what whack, that kind of order. So it's not really like a typical order kind of thing. So it's not like a everyday occurrence kind of deal.
Yes, I would tend to agree on that. To me, the other thing that I found about this article is that I don't feel that it was really written in good faith. I felt that it was more concerned about getting the attention and getting the eyeballs rather than to really think about writing a good article. Consider this. A publication lives and dies by the number of people looking at it and reading it.
And nowadays it's clicks lah, basically.
It's clicks. Why is that? Why is that the case? Because when you enter the page, there will be banner ads everywhere. There'll be, and basically you are paying for the article by having the ads load up on your browser. Right? Past life, that I was kind of involved in that kind of thing.
Yep.
And those impressions, those banner impressions add up. Right? So it is always necessary to try and get articles that people will load up and see. The media game is always like this. Like if you look at newspapers, right? What's the purpose of a newspaper in the old school days? Is to sell the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, you need to have headlines that are either very seriously like scary or very seriously startling to sell a copy of the Straits Times or the New Paper.
Yeah, I remember because my general paper tutor, she used to be a journalist before she went into education. Then she told me like, when she was like in the newsroom trying to plan what articles to put on the front page, they say that there are like few things that will always get people riled up. It's always like either like the usual things that we say like sex sells, something that's very like sexually provocative, or it could be things that are like that will get people like, oh, like babies and stuff like that, like cute stuff.
Yes.
Or if not, then it'll be something like very like eye-catching, like people want to dive in more, that kind of thing.
Yes, because it boils down to attention, right?
Yeah.
You will pay for the copy of the newspaper because it caught your attention to begin with.
It's a bit, which I sometimes feel like it's like a bit tabloidy lah.
But that's the nature of it,
yeah.
right? That's the nature of the game, right? You and I are gonna do stupid faces for the thumbnail for this video so that people will watch it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like besides for the shits and giggles, right? It's really to get the attention to people to like consider looking at it and click through it. And it could be, the payment could be through banner ads, it could be paid in clicks and views, it could be in the form of buying the article like a book or the paper or whatnot, right? So I felt that this was very headline heavy
Like, 9:20, then like,
Yes,
boom.
but there's no. I felt that the substance was lacking, and I find that this lack of substance is the one that
gets you.
that gets me, and I also feel that that's also part of the reason why there's so much vitriol against the writer.
Yeah.
And my past life, I used to work in SPH, not in the newsroom side of things, and therefore this writer is like, I don't know this writer personally, but this writer is like, I would consider this writer as like 2 degrees away from some
Like a friend of a friend.
Yes, like a colleague of a colleague that I know of, and maybe because of that, my point of view slightly differs from a lot of the online comments and hate. I would say that, why would I say so? Like, yes, I still feel that the article is not really written in good faith. It has very cheap throwaway lines like, oh, there are vegetables that I can buy from a supermarket to cook myself.
Which kind of grabs their attention because people are like, yeah.
But the point of going to Yong Tau Fu store to get the vegetables that you would buy from supermarket is somebody cooks it for you, right?
Yeah.
If not, you can just go to the supermarket. Why do you have to go to a store?
Having read the article, it just feels more like a rant than an actual article. It feels a bit like a bit spruced up. I wouldn't say in terms of like it's a blog post, but it feels like it started off as like a blog post, a rant. Then it like, because you need to release it on a website, then you kind of like edited it a little bit, then make sure the thing flowy.
It's like 9 Twitter posts stitched together into one article.
Yeah.
That kind of feel.
Yeah. It's like you tweet 1 out of 9, then you tweet again, then basically it's like into one article.
It becomes an article. Yeah. It kind of felt like that. It felt very disjointed. There was no flow. And it didn't feel like there was actually much of a point to the article. On the one hand, you say it's too expensive. On the other hand, you also have another sentence saying that I already expected the price to be this.
Then
so what are you after? And this person shut down all the social media accounts because of all the online negative comments, right? And of course, there were some comments that said that like, is your salary worth how much they are paying you as compared to how much you're paying for the Yong Tau Fu? And I mean, look. I think this whole personal attacks thing, I would be very definitive in saying that going after a person like that kind of crossed the line. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the article, I don't think that it warrants any form of anyone going after this person, releasing personal details of this person and trying to
doxing the person.
Even borderline doxing to me is crossing the line already.
Because the person is just doing a job.
Yeah, they're doing a shit job.
Yeah.
But they're still doing a job.
Yeah.
And in this case, I would say it's a shit job.
Yeah.
It's
not up to par in that sense.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, come on, I read the Sun newspaper before, and I still think this is close to that level of shit, lah. Yes,
it is not right to dox the writer, but on the other hand, I understand why the vitriol is. I'm not saying that we justify the vitriol, but I understand why the vitriol was there. It's because it just felt very not in good faith, because it was also like, it's meant to like send off this store. Yeah. But then it's like, this literally like
it's a parting shot.
It's a parting shot.
Yeah.
Like the store is going to close down. I don't think the owners really want that to happen. And if you look at the general mood of Singapore at the moment in terms of like hawker culture, we also say hawker culture is like not... It feels like it's as a dying thing. Then we are not helping the situation. Then we just like kind of like just hit somebody when they're down kind of thing.
Reading through some of the comments, I find that there's actually underlying tone, right? There's a secret war going on. There's a subset of people in society, in Singaporean society. There's a section of people who feel that hawker food is meant to be cheap food. Which is fair or otherwise, unfair, yes. It's just a description of what some people think. That is something I don't agree with, but there is a substantial number of people who think that hawker food is meant to be cheap food. It's meant to be forever and a day, $4.50 for a basic meal, to feed a working class person. There's also another set of people who feel that I'm willing to pay for quality food, and if it just happens to be at a hawker center, and because the cost base is a bit lower, I'll just discount factor of the high-end price. I give a discount factor, and that's the price I'm willing to pay. For example, are you willing to pay for $100 steak at a hawker center?
Not really, but
What if it's a good piece of wagyu that can feed 3 people?
yeah, then that's a different thing, right?
Like proper grill. Because by the way, there is a hawker in Jalan Batu that is selling $100 steak.
Yeah.
Of a Michelin star restaurant background.
Yeah.
Serving $18 burgers.
Yeah.
Which is probably with a discount factor. So like, let's say if you went to buy that same burger at a cafe or a sit-down restaurant,
it can easily go like 30.
yes, or 25.
Yeah.
And then because it's a hawker center, there's a discount factor. The cost
There's no service charge. There's the operational cost is lower.
The stalls are cheaper, so maybe you probably pay $18. And there are people who bring their own wine glasses and bring their own wine to eat over there.
Yeah.
It's just that the setting is a hawker center.
Yeah.
And there's people who are willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like going to like Coconut Club for or Wild Coco for nasi lemak.
Yeah. Because the point that you just made, it kind of reminded me of a point that Elderic made.
Eldrick and Hong both make the same point.
Yeah, they made the same point where I think he made the point on one of the videos that he did with Hong is Board, right? Which was the idea that he would be very interested to go to a store that's giving a price point that's slightly above what the average hawker food is offering, because it kind of makes him curious. And secondly, it gives the store owner or the chef a bit more headroom to play with in terms of like ingredients and stuff like that, which we kind of see. Like we have started seeing like barista level coffee at hawker centers.
Yeah.
And it is not at a price point where a hawker center usually have, because usually like a cup of coffee is like what, $1.60 now, maybe $2 maximum.
The $1.60 to $2.50 range.
The $2.50 range, right?
Yeah.
But then you can get a $3.50 to about a $4, $4.50 kind of coffee, which is still cheaper than what you might get at a cafe, for example.
Yes.
And sometimes if I just want a quick cuppa and I'm not going to sit there and drink, I'm going to take it away.
Yeah.
Like I'm going back to the office, or like I'm just going by and I want a good cup of coffee to sip on as I go for a meeting or I meet a friend and stuff like that. I don't mind paying that, and it's actually a cheaper alternative than, let's say, going to a cafe, for example.
Yes. It's the people who want to pay for quality at a lower price.
Yeah.
It's still more expensive than old school hawker food, but I'm just paying more because I want better. And there's this underlying tone, back to the original point, there's this underlying tone where like there's people who want absolutely cheap, and there's people who want to pay a bit more but know that they're going to get a lot more.
Yeah.
And there's this unwritten conflict in the internet comments right now.
Yeah.
And I find that it's quite interesting. I mean, I would encourage you to leave a comment to say that, what would you like to have? Would you prefer to have high quality food and you're willing to pay a bit more for it? Or are you looking for really, really inexpensive, like cheap as possible food in the hawker center? What are you looking for? I mean, let's be honest, it is, of course, the best answer is always cheap and damn good.
Yep.
Put together, and then it's like Captain Planet, he's a hero. But let's be realistic, it's not always going to happen. And sometimes you also wonder what kind of margins are these guys going to make.
Yeah.
But what do we see is the right answer for this conflict, right? I'm not sure. I personally, I don't mind paying an $8 meal at a hawker center, but it's one of the best meals of the day. That's my point of view. It's still less expensive than $25 a meal at a restaurant.
Okay, for me, because I think sometimes the nature of work, sometimes you have to eat out. You can't bring food out all the time.
And it's a time factor also.
Yeah, it's a time factor thing also. I think there's still a time and place for cheap food at the hawker center. But when I go for something that is cheap, I don't demand that the quality is there. But it just has to be like good enough, fills the tummy, well done lah. It has to be of a minimum standard, like it has to be edible and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't demand that it has to be like, wow, like if I'm paying $5 for this I don't know, chicken rice, or I pay $5 for this zap cai peng, it has to be like the best thing on earth. To me, it's just like it serves a purpose. Okay.
Then my question to you on this is, do you think that it means that both price points have a place in the market?
Yes. And it doesn't have to be the same store that has to do it, because there are places in hawker centers that I don't mind traveling to go and try the value. But the day-to-day one, it doesn't have to be like fantastic. It just has to serve a purpose of like feeding the general working class man.
Okay, so what you just told me, right, sparked this thought in my head. And I think it's a very good conclusion to this segment of the pod. There's a CNA video that went out that introduced this store at Jalan Batu, the one I just referred to, the $100 steak, right? Black Goat is at Jalan Batu. Jalan Batu is Tanjong Ru near Stadium. It's a very working class neighborhood in Mountbatten SMC. The one room, 2 room, some rental flats in that area. And this hawker center has one store called Black Goat, and they serve like $18 burgers. And if you look at the pictures, they're like freaking amazing. It's a Muslim-friendly stall. The proprietor is a Muslim guy. They got burgers, they got steaks, and some of the items are seasonal. So whatever best stuff that he can get from the suppliers, he will take. That's the one I described. Like people bring their own bottles of wine and glasses, and have barbecue steak and wine. Right? That's the life. That's the high end of the market. For that steak, you probably pay $200 or $150 at even ice sticks or whatever not.
Yeah.
Right? Random steakhouse, you probably pay twice the price. But this is really nice food for less money. But in the same hawker center, there's also the economic fried bihun store. And I struggle to hit a $5 bill from that store. Like I can add the luncheon meat, add the tofu, add the tau kwa, add the egg.
You can pile on your plate lah, basically.
You can pile it on, right? And you struggle to hit the $6 mark. And then you look at your plate, and then I wonder how are they going to make money out of this? So this is the example of the really, really drive the price down hawker. They are in the same hawker center. They both do business. It seems like they both are doing quite all right. It's just proof that for the same hawker center, you could really serve both ends of the market.
Yeah.
Perhaps what I would suggest is, if it's an expensive thing and you don't like it, then just shut the hell up and move on. It's not for you.
Or it's not an everyday, it's a once a while kind of treat lah.
Yeah, because also there are comments in Black Goat's Instagram pages, and they've also put stories on their, they put recounted stories in their social media saying that customers complain about it's too expensive and things like that. They were expecting like $7.50 steak from a Western food store in a hawker center.
But that's a totally different product.
It's a totally different thing altogether, right? But just because you're expecting the price to be $7.50, then yes, Old Airport Road Hawker Center is round the corner, and you can go and have your
decent Western food, yeah.
Hainan style Western food store, also very good. $8, $7 can sort it out.
Yeah.
Appreciate it for what it is, and you always have the right to choose as a consumer.
You can vote with your wallet lah, in that sense.
You can vote with your wallet, and that's the nature of the market, right?
Yeah.
The market is not just you and me or the next person or you listener.
It's the
whole world, right?
Yeah.
The market is the market. And that's why it also kind of pissed me off that the Straits Times article said that the Singaporean the disappearing diner is like, come on now. Will you also complain that gold prices are too high because it's all the market's fault?
Or my shares are dropping because the market determines it that way.
Yeah, then who are you going to blame?
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of ridiculous. And to me, it's like the market has spoken that certain brands don't work out in Singapore, or the way certain brands of food outlets, F&B, have not worked out in Singapore because the way they do it may not have worked.
I think what the Straits Times article failed to cover I felt was that the idea that they didn't really touch too much on the idea of why these kind of like the restaurants that they talked about closed down. Because honestly, if you dig a little bit deeper, is that the value proposition is not there.
Market is not giving them enough customers because they are not serving what customers really want or think of for going back.
Like a personal example kind of thing. I do dine out, but I don't dine out every meal because I try my utmost best to kind of save money on food. So I try to have a meal at home. Even if I go out to eat, I don't usually splurge too much on food. But if I were to consider going on going for a place to find a place to eat, right? It should like kind of like makes me feel that I'm actually paying for something that is like a treat. So
it has to be worth your calories and worth your wallet.
Yeah.
And worth your time to travel.
If not, I won't go there. And if I go there and it's like I get disappointed, I'll be like, nah, I'm not coming back there again.
Yeah.
So the idea is that what the eateries that they actually mentioned in the article, some I even feel that it's forgettable because I heard of the name, but when they entered the Singapore market, they didn't really go out of the way after their initial hype phase, right? So every, like if it's a franchise model kind of thing, like for example, if it's they have been in like another country, then they just come to Singapore. Then after the initial hype, have they done enough to like get people to return, or the non-believers to even consider them as like, oh, maybe it's not really my kind of thing, but it seems interesting. I don't mind giving it a shot. I feel they have not even gone to the extent of doing that to justify the.
I get what you mean. I've never tried Shake Shack overseas, and I didn't really want to queue up for it when it was at its craziest.
Yeah,
like 6 years ago, like 2018-19, when they first came here and opened in Jewel. I wasn't queuing like crazy. I was most like towards the tail end of the hype phase when I went to try. And it's something that I would go for as a treat of a burger from time to time. It's like I can describe to you when I will go. It's like the day-to-day burger is McDonald's. And then if I want the best ever burger in my life, I'd probably go to like a Burnt Ends type of place. And then if I want something somewhere in the middle, like a semi-special occasion kind of thing, treat, I would go to Shake Shack. Right? And I would go to Shake Shack and not Five Guys because I just find the Shake Shack experience just far more enjoyable. For the extra I'm paying, I find that the experience is far more enjoyable at Shake Shack than
which
Five
is a
Guys.
personal preference kind of thing.
Yes, and I think most people seem to agree with me because Five Guys have fewer and fewer outlets in Singapore. And that's just what it is. And you can't rail against the consumer after all. Railing against the consumer, right, for not patronizing these F&B outlets, right, it's like blaming on the lady, right, for not liking you back. It's really ridiculous. What? It's the customer's fault. Then why don't you flip over and say that the girl don't like me? It's the girl's fault. I'm the best thing ever. What the hell are you thinking about yourself? In conclusion, what's your parting shot for this? Don't take cheap parting shots for this.
A lot of these like commentaries or articles or reviews is that I think they have something to say, but at the same time, it feels as though like the initial part, okay, there's an issue there to be explored. If they dive deeper, there will be something more to substantiate. But it seems as though they just stuck at the initial phase of like generating the hype or like generating the clicks or the controversy, and then they just left it there.
Like you feel that there could have been a better story to tell.
Disappearing Act, that article, it could be an exploration in not just like cite the usual stuff, but like actually go down and maybe do an investigation, not have to be like super trace all the way down, but at least like do a bit more searching and finding fact finding and stuff like that lah. Or it could be not just an article, you can expand it to more stuff to think further. And Like the Yong Tau Fu one was, if you have gotten the view from the store owner's point of view, then it would have
Which is
been...
ironically, the mothership actually did more journalism than SPH in this case. We talked to the owner and asked for
a comment and stuff
I
like
got
that.
the worst Christmas ever comment. My parting shot is something similar. I would say that, think about this, consider this. The NKF case, right?
The TT Durai
The
thing.
TT Durai NKF expose, right?
Yeah.
Happened in 2004.
Over 20 years.
It's 22 years ago.
Yeah.
I would argue that SPH has not conducted proper investigative journalism for 22 years. There's been very little serious digging up and finding out something based on a lead. The old school journalism, right? There's a lead. I go and find out. I go and find my sources. I call people up. I dig files. And from there, I write something that is worthwhile for people to think about. Those have been extremely few and far between. Since the day the CEO took umbrage, right? I see even fewer.
Yeah, it just feels as though it's like a cookie cutter. They just like into
Cookie
a template.
cutter and take the PR, take the press release and just flip it and rewrite it and put it out there.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where sometimes the government's own press releases say more, and government's own social media releases say more about certain things than what news outlets have been able to put out. They really need to do more than that. The sad thing is, looking at the comments, every time when there's a Bertha blows up, people seem to be commenting more about what's happening in the news in that event than what she's actually trying to say about what the journalism is about.
It's like Singaporeans are not getting it. I would also say that, could it be also because of evolving attention spans, and like, it seems as though like everybody is going towards like video content. Then because of that, everybody wants the eyeballs. Then it's easier to make short form video content than to actually do proper journalism, and like, because everybody just wants the TLDR version of everything and they don't bother to do the long form stuff anymore.
I don't agree. Looking at the last Singaporean general election, looking at the last US presidential election, looking at the number of views coming out of podcasts, big and small of various scale, looking at the number of views and the watch time for all these places, people actually want more real stuff than ever before.
It's just that how you package it and how you bother to do your proper homework.
Yes. When you look at how Lawrence Wong only gave one interview in the whole general election campaign, and it was to a podcast, I think that's an indicator that people, and also the smart money is at, where people have time to sit down and really listen.
They want more real stuff than just like cookie cutter coverage or cookie cutter short form.
Or package stuff.
Yeah.
Our closing segment, today I learned. What did you learn today?
Nike didn't actually pay Michael Jordan's fine for wearing the Air Jordans.
So basically, during that era, in the early 80s and before, all basketballers wore Converse.
Yeah.
They wore Converse All-Stars.
Yeah.
And I think it was a sponsorship deal to the NBA.
All basketballers in the NBA, they have to adhere to a code of like an attire code. So it's like your sneakers must be of a certain percentage, must be white in color. So it cannot go above and beyond like the certain percentage, right? So when Jordan first came to the scene and Nike saw the opportunity to sponsor him and they designed a specific shoe just for him. At that time, there was like a fun fact about it that kind of circled around, or rumor or urban legend was that, yeah, because the design was so out of this world or so revolutionary or like so avant-garde, was that, yeah, they had to pay NBA a fine for Jordan to wear the Air Jordans.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, that's not entirely true. So the reason why the fine came about was, yes, Jordan did wear black and red Nike Airship, which was not the Air Jordans 1 yet. It was before the Air Jordan 1 was launched, but Jordan was already sponsored. And therefore, for that one match, I think, for that one game, then Jordan wore that shoe, then, yeah, Nike had to pay a fine for him. But other than that, there is actually no solid record that Jordan was fined game after game for wearing the banned shoes. And it was basically Nike just capitalized on this. They got fined for one, then they turned it into a marketing like hook for people to say that, wow, the designs are so like
It's
revolutionary,
so out there.
so out there that NBA had to fine us, but we gladly paid the fine. So it was not really an entirely true statement.
No,
it was,
basically they sold the story.
yeah, they sold the story.
Yep.
Which you can actually watch it as a film now if you have on Amazon
Nice.
Prime. So it's called Air.
Okay. So the truth is they only paid probably one fine and that's about it.
One or twice. Nobody knows the exact details, but yeah.
Today I learned something about this thing called creatine. Okay, now I know I'm a bit lagged in this aspect because you've been like consuming creatine supplements for a while, right?
I think I was on it for a while, then I stopped.
Creatine supplement is something that all the gym bros have been going hard at for like the last few years, right?
Yeah.
It's like you want to have creatine so that you can be more swole or whatever, not. And my understanding of it in a very basic rudimentary sense of it is that creatine is something that sort of supplements the recovery of muscles. It supports the recovery of muscles. And therefore, a lot of the research has gone into how creatine enables physical recovery and growth.
Yeah.
Right. In a recent Diary of a CEO podcast that I was listening to, it turns out that creatine also supports brain recovery and growth. So the usual amount of creatine the body naturally produces is about 1 to 2 grams a day.
Yeah.
And if you have creatine supplementation, you probably push the amount of creatine you have in your system by about 5 to 10 grams, depending on how much you consume. There was an interview with Dr. Wendy Suzuki on the Diary of a CEO. She's a brain researcher. There's this field of study now and publications are coming up because creatine research has gone to another phase already, that some researchers have found that creatine supplementation that is like past 10 grams is partly consumed by the muscles if you are gym bro and going to get swole. But at the same time, if you are doing a lot of heavy cognitive load, that means you are using a lot of brain power, like studying or doing a presentation or doing a debate or being a guest on a podcast where you think a lot and all that kind of thing. Apparently, it helps to feed the brain. I'm not a medical practitioner. I don't know of these things, but it appears that it is something that also supports the brain. She says that she consumes creatine as part of her workout. Plus, it's also meant to supplement the brain. Other types of cognitive load can also mean like anxiety states, depressive states, because when you are going through a sort of anxious phase or anxiety phase or depressive phase, it's basically your brain is also on overdrive.
Yeah.
Some are suggesting that the creatine actually supports the brain recovery. As I said in our previous episode, some health supplementation is something that I'm trying to look at to improve my health for the year.
So it's like something that you're exploring also to find the scientific background behind it.
Try to understand it properly rather than just pop pills.
Because really for me was that why I took it was because I watched a few videos on GCN. So they talked about like creatine in terms of like cycling, and what I understood from it and also reading up a little bit was that because it's not exactly getting you swole per se, but rather because it kind of helps in energy utilization in your muscles. Therefore, you can push heavier weights or heavier loads in your training, and thus it will lead to like better outcomes in terms of your training. I haven't watched what you shared, but if you take that same line of reasoning, it kind of makes sense, because if it helps in terms of creatine helps in terms of energy utilization, it would actually mean that in the brain, it's like it helps the energy utilization in neurological functions.
Yeah, it's described to me, it was the way I look at it, or I got the message, is kind of like brain food kind of idea.
Yeah, because the idea of the brain needing energy is not new, and I think a huge proportion of our daily calorie intake, right? I don't know the exact numbers, it's actually going into like brain function, which is then the other part about brain function is like your rest and all the other stuff.
Yep.
But majority is the energy intake. Anything of the biological system goes is that a lot of these things are highly inefficient.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you have like certain other pathways or certain other supplements that could get to help you in terms of increasing that efficiency, then yeah lah, of course a little can go a long way. But at the same time, I would also say that the thing about a lot of this supplementing stuff is that a lot of people go into supplementation, but without doing their core stuff right.
You cannot just consume and don't work out lah.
Yeah, you cannot consume and don't work out. You cannot consume and don't rest. You cannot like you consume vitamin C, but then your diet is all like shit.
Yeah.
Then you say like, oh, my immune system always bad, even though I supplement already, then still cannot. Yeah, but it's a bit like eating.
It's a booster. It's not the fundamental.
Correct.
It's a booster.
I think another person that I find is quite reliable, at least on the internet, is Dr. Karan. I think he did also talk about creatine, which is
he's also quite swole, by the way.
Yeah. Then he did talk about it in a sense that like there's no harm in taking creatine. Because the only other side effect of creatine so far is that you gain a bit of water weight at the initial loading phase.
And
then
also, like if you go for certain blood tests, there was a video he put out. Like if you go for blood test, just don't take creatine for the few days before you go for a blood
I'm not
test.
very sure. I haven't,
because it actually impacts the readout. Because there's a byproduct that comes out.
Yeah.
And because of creatine supplementation, he said that he was at risk or something.
Yeah.
But he stopped creatine for a week. Then he went to a blood test again, and it was normal. So it's like skewed by supplementation.
Yeah.
So apparently that is the
thing.
An effect lah. It's an effect. Do state in the comments if you want to listen to this point, right? Please do state in the comments. Do you want hawker food to be just cheap, or do you want hawker food to be very good and you're willing to pay, but just not as much as a restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you just want both anyway. Yeah. So just a bit of homework for you all to do this week, because we need more comments this week. Thanks very much. And then we will see you in the next episode. Also consider this next week.